So here we are at round 2 of the GP2 offline series. It is chucking it down here in the Pacific. The lights are on. Senna's on pole. And after a long hold, we are underway here in the rain-soaked Pacific. Is that Irvine looking down the inside? No, Senna gets an absolutely fantastic start. And that's Hill. Hill is making a move down the inside into second place. Mansell tucks in third. And that is... or maybe not Irvine. Irvine's going down the inside of Mansell. There we go. That's Irvine into P3. As it is really chucking it down here. And remember, Senna thrives in these conditions. Let's see what it will do. Mansell now going to send one down the inside of Irvine as he overshoots himself and has to slow down. As the two McLarens are now going side by side. As Herta is now ahead of Alesi. As Ayrton Senna now being chased down by Damon Hill. As everyone is struggling in these wet conditions. And that is, who is that? Gerhard Berger trying to go down the inside of John Alesi. Or, yep. John Alesi now also losing 6th to Sonny Hayes. So Sonny Hayes now running 6th. Just ahead of the McLaren. The Gerhard Berger in 8th. And Patrick Pardy as well. With an incredible 9th at the moment. If he can hold that towards the end, he could be looking good. Herbert, rather unfortunately, still P12. Not really making much of an impact at the moment in that Williams car. But Senna leads the first lap of the Pacific Grand Prix here in the rain. It's absolutely horrible conditions, but as we know, Senna does love a bit of wet weather. And he's no stranger to it. So we'll see how he gets on. That's a car in the pits as well. Who is that in the pit lane? That's David Coulthard in the pits. He's missing a front wing. When did that happen? David Coulthard is in the pits without a front wing. That's not really what the Simtech squad need, especially after scoring points in first round. Not the greatest start to the race, but Senna leads. Nigel Mansell now under pressure from Eddie Irvine. And the Benetton, who now ride on board with John Alesi, just behind Sonny Hayes. As Mansell's holding up a big old train of cars here. Maybe he's trying to help out Senna. Who knows? But this is a big old train here. And we all know the wet weather. It's really chucking it down here. So this is a big test for all the drivers. Just really tentative around this track here. Senna with a new fastest lap, 128.3, I believe that was. And there's another car. That's another car in the pit lane. That's Frentzen without a front wing. What is going on to everyone's front wings? It's Frentzen for Lotus Pits. Another team who scored points. So now have a look at one of the Jordan drivers as he runs it wide, as these conditions are proving to be just a little bit of a struggle for a lot of these drivers. Definitely not a struggle for Senna though. He seems like he's checked out, along with Damon Hill, who is our championship leader at the moment after winning round 1. As Christian Fittipaldi there with a massive twitch. Let's go on board. Let's have a look at the replay there. So as we have a look, we cut to him literally just nearly. It's like a bit of an aquaplane there. Let's have a look. Comes in. Oh, he got hit by his teammate. He got hit by his teammate. So Jos Verstappen, not happy. He's stuck behind his teammate. As there we go, we see Frentzen pull out the pit lane. But we now ride on board. Damon Hill, lap 3 of 83. So Damon Hill can at least still see Senna. Now Senna's in a very powerful Ferrari at the moment, but very unreliable Ferrari. But we will see if obviously that can change, as there's a retirement. That's David Coulthard off the track. Is that a mistake? Is that a mistake from David? After pitting. Let's have a look. Is it a mistake? It is! It is! Oh no, it's not. It's not been a good first 3 laps for David. It really hasn't. Or the Simtech team. Really has not been a good start. I don't think their team boss is going to be best pleased with David today. After doing so well to get points in round 1. It's Patrick Pardy now, looks down the inside, but no. He thinks better of it. Down the inside of Alesi. Alesi is seeming a bit vulnerable here. This has been passed by both Tyrrells. And now Patrick Pardy is now looking at shaping up a move as we now ride on board with Nicola Larini for Ligier Ford. Look at how slow these cars are going. I mean, this is torrential rain. I'm surprised a lot of them are able to keep it on track. You know, cut to Damon, and we have a look at Eddie Irvine, still stuck behind the red Ferrari, Nigel Mansell. Eddie Irvine wants to try and side his way through here, because I don't think he's going to want to be stuck behind Nigel for too long. And as we know, last race, in round 1, Nigel Mansell had an incredible race until his puncture. He probably would have won had he not got that puncture. And rather unfortunately, that's that. And Senna sets the new fastest lap of the race. He is not messing around today in this wet weather. Here he is. I think he's just proving why he's the best wet weather driver on the track at the moment. But we'll see how long that car lasts. As we now cut to David, who's just struggling really, isn't he? In that Simtech. I don't think him and the car are getting on very well, but I mean, he's so far behind already on lap 5. Not been the start that he would have wanted, and fortunately there's yellow flags. That's Damon Hill! Damon Hill is backwards, facing backwards out of the hairpin. Is it a mistake? What is it? What happened? It's a mistake! He spins! He spins! Damon Hill, the driver who won in Brazil, is now facing backwards out of the hairpin. He's got to wait for everyone to go by before he... That is incredible. Our race winner of round 1 is now facing backwards out of the hairpin. And he's got it all to do now. But Senna and Mansell are now first and second. Team owner of Ferrari is going to be very happy with that one. John Alesi now. Still just stuck behind Berger. As Tyrrell are doing incredible to be running 5th and 6th at the moment. Jay Kirkham is going to be very happy with that. As Eddie Irvine, we're now gone with Eddie Irvine. Is he going to shape up a move here? Just under the front right suspension. Let's have a look here. As we now ride on board with the Irishman. Is he going to shape one up? No. It's quite dangerous really to be sending one, because these conditions have been proven to be quite dangerous. We've had our championship leader spin out of the hairpin. We've had Coulthard make a mistake twice. Obviously he is a rookie to Formula 1, is David, but that Simtech probably isn't the greatest car to drive. As I mean, it's just slow. It's just so slow, really, isn't it? I mean, these conditions are just torrential, and it's really going to show who the best drivers are on this grid, these conditions. You know, to maintain our viewing of Eddie Irvine. That's a bit wide there from the McLaren. I don't know if you saw, but Herta there running a little bit wide, wider than he would have probably wanted around that corner. But he now has Sonny Hayes right up behind him. Now, I don't want to jinx anything, but we're on lap 7 and we've had no retirements yet. But it's Irvine going to look down the inside. He's going to look for it. He's going to send one down the inside at the hairpin. That's Eddie Irvine up into second, sorry, and that's Sonny Hayes as well making a move on Herta. So Herta paying the price for running a bit wide in sector 1. And Sonny Hayes has capitalised on that and is now running in a very solid P4 for Tyrrell. This has been an incredible start to the season for Sonny. He's really proven that he is a driver that everyone should be worried about in the Tyrrell Peugeot. We'll see what will happen further down in the championship, but that's Sonny Hayes now. That's Mika Häkkinen. Mika Häkkinen is out with an engine problem. Let's see. Does it just cut out? Yep. Engine cuts out, and that's Mika Häkkinen, our first retirement. It's been an awful start to the season for LaRousse. They've had one driver not qualify for this race, and now their first retirement is the LaRousse, and that's Frentzen going slow as well. So Frentzen, we've had 2 retirements. Is that it's puncture for Frentzen? He's had to pit, and he's now retiring on lap 8. So after scoring points in round 1, he will go no further in round 2. We cut to Senna. Now we cut to Alesi riding on board with the Frenchman. Is he going to shape up a move here on the Tyrrell? He's looking like he's going to try it. No. He backs off there. Thinks better of it. Now Alesi's got Barrichello behind him as well in the Sauber. So Sauber, I think Barrichello's very much gone under the radar in that Sauber machine, as he's running an 8th. And bear in mind, that Sauber has got a very reliable engine in the back of it. So we'll see what happens with Barrichello in this race. But at the moment, things are as they stand. Schumacher as well running 10th for Lotus. But Senna now crosses the line. Still in the lead. Still showing everyone that he is the wet weather master. And Eddie Irvine as well, pulling a mighty gap to Mansell. So Benetton, after both their cars retiring, I believe it was before lap 10, I think it was, they've now got Eddie Irvine running in second place, which is incredible. And we now cut to Senna. Still leading for the Italian-based outfit. It's David Coulthard. Whoa! Whoa! David Coulthard. He's really not enjoying the weather today, is he? That's another. Let's have a look at the replay here. Have a look. What's he done here? Ran it wide. Yeah, there you go. Oh, good save though. But he's struggling in this weather. He really is. I believe Salo's running in a pretty good position at the moment, but I think Salo might actually be second to last at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. I'll really cut to him in a minute. But, oh, yep, there we go. So we've got Jos Verstappen. Now, oopsie daisies. So Jos Verstappen now has Damon Hill behind him. So Damon Hill has been able to catch back up the back of the field. But how quickly will he be able to manoeuvre these drivers? Williams on the back foot at the moment after an extremely strong round one, where they got all the money in the world. Now, will this result affect the team? So have a look at Patrick Pardee in a very good position here. He's, proving that, he's on his rookie season in the sport, but he's not mucking about here in the Minardi. He's not messing about whatsoever. As here we go. Now look at Rickard Rydell now. Down the inside he goes on Schumacher. As Barrichello. Oh, what happened there? Was there a bit of contact? Is that Patrick Pardee making contact with Barrichello? Let's have a look at the replay. So I did hear a bit of contact there. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's oh no, that's a shocking move. That is. Let's have a look at the on board. Patrick Pardee. That might well be a penalty there for the Minardi. Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, what is? Yeah. Oh, that was messy. That was a very, very messy overtake there. And I think the stewards will have something to say about that. As that was a bit robust, shall I say. A bit of a robust overtake, a little bit desperate from Pardee. But Barrichello, they're lucky to both still be going in this race after that. But, yeah, very robust overtake there from Patrick Pardee. And yeah, he is under investigation. Just heard word in my ear. He is under investigation for causing a collision. So, we will see what comes of that. As they're now into turn one. Nigel Mansell struggling in this wet weather here in his Ferrari. Got a bit of a Mansell train going on here. Mansell, Hayes, Herta, Berger, Alesi, and Pardee just on the back end of it. It's Damon Hill now on his way back up through the grid. Makes his first move on Jos Verstappen, our point scorer in the last race. Is lounging about in the back at the moment. Pardee sort of taking the first driver role in this race so far. So now go on board with the back of Eddie Irvine. I think we should go on board with the back of Nigel Mansell here. As there's a big old train behind him. Look at that. Tyrrell McLaren. Doesn't that look lovely? And remember, this is the fight for a podium position. And you get more funds if you get onto the podium. So, more Sonny Hayes, bite the bullet, Tyrrell, and send one down the inside of Mansell. Now, the thing is with this, is that Mansell has a very powerful engine, whereas cars behind him are a bit less oomph in their engines, shall I say. So they will struggle to get past on the straights. As you can see, he does pull a gap on the straights, whereas in the corners he seems to struggle a little bit. So Ferrari lacking on downforce, but they make up for it in power. So we'll see what comes of that. But this is a lovely views. Lock up. Oh yeah, big lock up there from Mansell. I think this might set impetus for Sonny Hayes. No, see, look at that. So the engine in this Ferrari just gets the power on the exits, and he can keep that gap. We do have a move though. That is Gerhard Berger down the inside of Herta, not messing about, and Barrichello as well, making a move on Pardee. So there we go. Just an update on the collision as well between Pardee and Barrichello. Will be investigated after the race. So stewards feel like that needs a bit more investigation. So they'll have a look at that once the race ends. And there will be a verdict. And that may or may not affect Hardy's finishing position for Minardi. Team owner Ryan Hawke will be hoping that that's not a huge penalty. Granted, that is if his car makes it to the end. Mansell is just really struggling. You can keep. He's off! He's off! Mansell's off! Mansell's off! That was coming. You could see that happening. As round he comes, he just runs it and off he goes. He spins and well avoided there by the Tyrrell. But Mansell is off. So he's just gonna stay in the middle of the road. I mean, oh, he's been hit. Johnny Herbert crashes into Mansell. Oh, what is going on here? Mansell needs to move out the way. Oh no! Oh no, Mansell. Oh, Mansell. What have you done, my friend? Too late to get a replay, but I think you all saw that. That's just dangerous, dangerous stuff. That's Johnny Herbert out of the race. Mansell that far back. That was shot, and you're rightfully so. Mansell was going to be investigated after the race after that one. That was very dangerous. That was very dangerous. He was right to stay still, but after he got hit, he should not have moved. That was very, very dangerous there from the Brit. But you could see that incident coming. He was under pressure from the cars behind, and he just made a mistake. And unfortunately, he got hit by Herbert, and I think he probably got a little bit stunned, and then just sort of put the power down to move out the way, and it's just all very messy. But stewards are very right to look at that after the race, because that was very, very dangerous. But yeah, that was not what we want to see. But that does put Sonny Hayes in third place, followed by Berger, Herter, Lacey. He's now gone on board with Pedro Lamy. He was the one who was caught up in that incident with Mansell. Tried to avoid him, but Mansell reversed into him and then went back forward again. And yeah, it was just all a little bit messy, unfortunately. But I'm sure the stewards will definitely have something to say after this race, because I think that was a little bit more dangerous than what we'd expect from Mansell. But I think the pressure really got to him there. Leading a train for so many laps, as we now have a look at Sonny Hayes. Look at this. Jay Kirkham is going to be loving this. Third and fourth for Tyrrell. These higher downforce tracks have really suited the skill sets of both Hayes and Berger. As what you also have to see is a Lacey in fifth, and especially Herter, who in Brazil I think we were all concerned, and that's a car off. That's Rydell. Rydell's gone round. Rydell has gone round. Let's quickly have a look at the replay. I just saw that in the corner of my eye. Let's go on board with the Benetton. Puts the power on too early, and round he goes. But rejoins the track just fine in 10th, but that was a mistake from Benetton driver Rydell there. Not great, and that's Berger as well, sorry, down the inside of Hayes. So Gerhard Berger up into third. Sure, that was a pretty textbook move into the hairpin that we missed, but Now, look, we're going to go right on board on the back of Brian Herter. There we go. So he's got Barrichello behind him, followed by Pardy. Or Patrick Pardy. Evan Pardy did not qualify for this race, rather unfortunately. Well, LaRousse, and that's Patrick Pardy. Patrick Pardy, what are you doing? Patrick Pardy. Wow. That was... Let's have a look at the replay. It's another incident with Barrichello. He does not like being stuck behind the Brazilian, and he's caused him some damage, I think. That is naughty from the American. He's up into 7th, but again, he's being investigated, and he will be looked at after the race as well. Because he's been a bit dangerous this race. There's Patrick. I'm not sure if this is a tactic in the Minardi squad to try and get more points, but the stewards might put a bit of an end to it. It continues. But Berger in 3rd. Doing this thing. So we now ride on board with Nicola Larini. So we're now having a look at some of the guys who are down in 18th and 17th. We haven't really had a lot of coverage of these lot. There's Larini driving for Ligier. Ligier is owned by our very own Alex Quanta. No, he's going down the inside. And no, we made contact! So Larini, I think that's, he's trying to overtake Morbidelli there, but Morbidelli and Larini make a bit of contact. So nearly chucked up in the air there, and there you go. There's Mansell making moves on the Pacifics after this very, very confusing incident. Very confusing incident, and it'll be interesting to see the steward's verdict after today's race. So now right on board, Gerhard Berger on his rear wing. But Sonny Hayes as well is dropping off a bit to Berger. So yeah, Sonny Hayes sitting in P4 at the moment, just over Lacey, but Lacey's looking quite racy at the moment. I think he's going to want to be making a move on the American quite soon. Now McLaren, owned by Van der Peet, I don't believe did score any points in the last race. I can double check. I don't think they did. McLaren are running Yamaha engines, so pretty mid-tier engines, but serving them quite well in Pacific, this track at the moment. So no, Jean Lacey got 8th in round 1, so that was McLaren's highest position in that race. Brian Herter retiring with, I believe it was some sort of, it was a failure of sort. I don't exactly remember the failure. I believe it was, let's have a look, transmission. But McLaren are going to be hoping that that doesn't happen again, and that is a Lacey making a move on Hayes, who runs that corner quite wide after being overtaken, but that is Hayes down into 5th, and a Lacey promoted into 4th. Now riding on board with the back of Berger. This battle for 3rds does still rage on. So we're waiting for the first stops. Speaking of first stops, the leaders are in. So that is Senna and Irvine into the pit lane. Going to change to some more wet tyres, I believe. But Gerhard Berger stays out, Alesi stays out, Hayes stays out, Herta stays out, Pardy is staying out, Barrichello is staying out. Is it just first and second that are pitting? I believe it is. So that promotes Gerhard Berger into the lead of the race, followed by Alesi, Hayes, Herta, and Senna gets out in 5th. Wow. That just shows the dominance. Pit from first and gets out in 5th. Whereas Irvine, who was in 2nd, is now in 10th. After pitting just behind his teammate Rydell. So, there's another car coming in as well. I think that might be the Minardi. Nope, it's Alicia. So Lorini's in. Lorini boxes. And Barrichello here is going to want to get past Patrick Pardy for the 3rd time this race. After Pardy has had some questionable overtakes on him, but I believe Barrichello will get this one done nice and cleanly after being, I think it's fair to say, he's been chucked around by Pardy quite a bit. Hopefully Pardy doesn't try anything like that again. Otherwise it will be an even heftier penalty than I'm sure the one that he's already got. So it's all hypothetical, but the FIA will have a good look at these incidents and determine what the best outcome is. But that is Barrichello into 6th place. But he pits. So Barrichello pits along with Herta. So Herta, Barrichello, pit. I think they've seen the pace of Senna after Senna's boxed. And now they're going to want to try and capitalise on that. Alesi still runs 2nd. Hayes in 3rd. Senna in 4th. And Pardy in 5th. So Tyrrell are going to be loving this. Obviously, it's not exactly the lead, but they are leading a race. So I think they can be pretty happy with that. We'd like to hope that they can be, because they've not retired after the first 15 laps in this one. So, let's recover Rydell. Oh my goodness! Rydell's facing backwards and bang! Oh dear. That's Lamy. Oh dear. Oh dear. Rydell with no damage, amazingly, but facing the wrong way. So that must have been a mistake that we missed there. There weren't any yellow flags waved from what I saw. So I think there might need to be some work done on that in the future. But Rydell, it's not been very good for him around that corner, and unfortunately I think the team boss of Benetton might have a stern talking to. There's Alesi boxes, so Alesi's in the pits. There's now a Tyrrell 1-2, but for how long? Because Senna goes down the inside of Hayes at turn 1. Senna's on fire at the moment. Hard not to see why. So he is driving the absolute socks of that Ferrari. I wonder what the Tyrrells are doing. Are the Tyrrells going to maybe try a one-stop? There's Pedro Lamy now, getting overtaken by Herta. So Lamy, well, unfortunately, he's been in the wars quite a bit this race, crashing into show cars. That's a car off. That's Berger! Berger is off. Is that a failure or is that a mistake? I think that might be a failure. Let's have a listen. Failure. The engine just shuts off and he's out of the race. That's so unfortunate there for Berger, running in such a good position, and he's out with an engine problem. So Gerhard Berger is running in such a good position all the way up until that point. and he's out. So that will improve the positions for, let's say, Herta and Barrichello. But that depends on the strategy of all the other drivers. But that is Berger out. Schumacher's into the pits then for Lotus. And Sonny Hayes runs it quite wide at turn 1 there. So the tyres clearly fading a bit for the American. I think after seeing his teammate retire, I think he's hoping that the same doesn't happen to him. But Senna already back into the lead after pitting. Senna is just on an absolute dominant run in this race. And now look on at Pardy in the Minardi Peugeot. And running on board with Panis as well. He's silently got himself up into 5th. But a lot of people haven't yet to box. So we will see. So now take a look at Sonny Hayes, who is one of those drivers yet to box, along with Pardy. Yeah, Sonny Hayes does stay out. So does Patrick Pardy. So there's Damon Hill as well, who, after making that mistake early on in the race, is now making his way back up through the grid, which will have teams like Ferrari and Benetton, even Tyrrell really, and McLaren. I'm not sure if I already said McLaren, might have done. But they'll have their heckles up and they'll be thinking, we do still have one Williams in this race. It's not over yet. Jos Verstappen boxes from 18th. One of the, well, I would say backmarker cars, but they are, realistically, they have more points than some of the top teams at the moment, but that was only after round 1, so things can always change. That's what I always like to say. As here we have Eddie Irvine running in a net P2. He's catching up Pardy and Hayes at a rate of knots at the moment on those fresh tyres. As the Benetton Renault car. I believe that's Pardy coming in. It is. So Pardy comes in. Hayes stays out. Do now take a look at Ayrton Senna, who's leading this race by a comfortable margin. But let's have a look then. What's going on back here? So we've got Nigel Mansell. We're going to go on board with Nigel Mansell as he tries to side his way through these backmarker cars. So he's just behind Lama. You can see the pace difference though. But let's see if you can get past any of these cars down the main straight. So we ride on board with the Brit. No, he stays put, stays where he is. You now look at Eddie Irvine. This rain is just not letting off though. It's been persistent. Persistent rain. But this is the sort of weather that you will get in As Hill as well makes his way past Sarlo, who is yet to pit, I believe, but Sarlo running an impressive 7th place there for Simtech. So granted, he's yet to pit, but it's not looking too bad for the Finn. Opposed to his teammate, who's very much struggled in this race. So Around comes Salo then. We now look at Eddie Irvine chasing Sonny Hayes down after boxing. There's Nigel Mansell now trying to go down the inside. Oh, I believe that's, yep, Morbidelli. So Mansell on a charge. Will it all be for naught? As the stewards are looking at his actions in today's race. But he is continuing. Which I think a lot of teams will protest that fact. As he has taken out a championship contender. So, not a great look there for Mansell. So going to have a look at Irvine, who is really chasing Hayes down. So Senna catching Coulthard coming out the pit lane. Senna's going to be stuck behind him, but I don't think that'll matter too much. In the grand scheme of things for Ayrton, he'll eventually make his way through and pull away. He's going to try it now. Through he goes. On Coulthard. Coulthard doesn't make it easy for him, even though he has had blue flags waved at him. So, but there we go. Coulthard overtaken by Senna. But here we go. This is what we want to see. Sonny Hayes now just ahead of Eddie Irvine. Who, now bear in mind, this is already much better for Sonny Hayes compared to round one. He's been immaculate these first two rounds, and I'm sure Jay Kirkham will be hoping that continues. But Benetton's signing of Eddie Irvine is looking to make do from the horrors of round one it was for Benetton. Both dual engine failure on both cars, which is a rarity for Renault to have such failures. So I think it was a bit of a shock to Benetton to have that in round one, but I'm sure Eddie Irvine will be shaping up a move maybe on Hayes here. No, he's going to stay tucked behind him for now, but he is very close. As I believe that's Herta. I saw a position change there. Oh, it's because Hill is in the pits. So Hill boxes. I'm not sure what's going on with the Williams strategy, especially after that spin. So we'll see what happens with Damon once he comes back out. But Eddie Irvine now definitely going to be shaping up for a move on Sonny Hayes. There we go. Pretty easy move there for Eddie Irvine to make. Through he goes. Eddie Irvine into second. Hayes down into third, which is now right on board with the back of Eddie Irvine, just ahead of Sonny Hayes. And look at that gap. So that just shows the tyre difference. And speaking of, Coulthard's doing a very good job there to stay behind Senna. Now have a look at Christian Fittipaldi behind Diet in the Lamborghini, the Lord Jordan Lamborghini, shall I say? Running a lowly 15th, but getting the job done after his teammate didn't qualify. Eddie Irvine now been right on board with. Seems like he's going very slow, but I think that is just the weather. But compared to Brazil, it seems like a lot of cars have figured out their reliability. A lot of teams have anyway, because we are not having as much engine blowouts. We've only had 3 so far, and it's lap 28. And bear in mind as well, the race is going to be a bit longer because of the rain. There's Mansell boxes and Salo. So we'll see where those two come out. But it looks like Pardy on the back of Herta. So Pardy is having a fantastic race for Minardi. Now, Minardi obviously, I mean, Patrick made it to the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Will he make it to the end of this one? He's going to go down the inside of Herta and gets the job done there. So that is the Minardi of Pardy up into 6th. Now, I'm not sure what they fed him this morning, but he is doing a very good job at the moment, is Patrick Pardy. So, now, I look at Senna. Now, Coulthard is still sticking with Senna. Now, obviously, Coulthard is probably on fresher top rubber, but, you know, he's staying with him. It's probably going to it probably helps him drag him along a little bit. So, I don't think there'll be much complaints from the Simtech squad there. As there's now a massive gap between Irvine and Hayes. We'll have a look at Lacey. Lacey runs wide and Lacey's round! But whoa! What a save from John Lacey. He needed to save that. Otherwise, I don't think Van der Peet, the team boss, McLaren, is going to be very happy. Let's have a look then. Too early on the throttle? Yeah. What a save, though, from Lacey. That is top-notch stuff. From the McLaren driver. That is fantastic stuff. There's a few cars in now. Morbidelli is in. Lamy, I believe that was, is in. But the gaps now are starting to spread out. Cars are starting to get lapped. And that shows that now they're definitely past the start phase. Patrick Pardy's on a madness. He's going down the inside now of Olivier Panis. Who Panis is yet to box, I believe, as well. Brian Herta is going to want a bit of that for himself as well. As I think Hayes, Panis, Deekt even, I think, maybe Fisichella are all doing one stops. As JJ Leto now is looking down the inside of Christian Fittipaldi for Pacific. JJ Leto gets that move done, and he's now up into 15th, I believe that was. 13th. Now right on board then with Sonny Hayes. At the moment, doing just what he needs to do for Tyrrell. I think both Hayes and Berger have driven the socks off of this Tyrrell. They're putting it in a place it really should not be. So now have a look at Damon Hill, who is right up behind Fisichella and is going to look for a move into turn 1. Let's see what he can do. He must get this done. He's got a very powerful engine in the back of that car. And there we go. Damon Hill down the inside. Christian Fittipaldi pits. But that is Damon Hill up into 11th on his nice little comeback story here. So let's see what he will make of that. So we now look at Senna. That's Brian Herta now down the inside. There we go. Down the inside he goes. As Schumacher tried to maybe squeeze through, but I don't think that was happening. As Herta is now into 6th. So much better drive, I think, from Herta this round. After Brazil, I think we all thought that if that continued, Van der Peet would have no decision but to make a driver swap. But that is Sonny Hayes in the pits now. So Sonny Hayes pitched from 3rd place. That will definitely put Alesi into 3rd. And Pardy will put Pardy into 4th. But Hayes now does box. Panis is in as well. So all the 1 stoppers, or maybe 2 stoppers even, compared to the 3 stoppers, are now in. So we will see what that now means for strategy. But Deekt doesn't pit, so Deekt is up into 9th now. Which might actually be a bit of a cork in the bottle for Hill, because Deekt has a very, very powerful engine in the back of that car, but it's just very, very unreliable. But that we'll just see if he will be able to hold up Damon. But I think Damon will have none of that and might just send it down the inside here. No. But Deeks, though, doing a pretty good job for Jordan here, to be honest. The car's not exploded just yet, as we thought it would. But no, Damon's going to get this one done. Yeah, of course he is. Damon down the inside of Deek. Is Deek going to put up much of a fight? No, of course he isn't. He hasn't got much of a need to. As he all runs it a bit wide there, but he's now right on board with Jean Alesi. Now running third place, just ahead of, well, not just ahead of Pardy, but ahead of Pardy. Pardy in fourth place, followed by Herta. Schumacher in sixth as well. So, fantastic job from the German. So, now have a look at Senna, just ahead of the Pacific of, I'm not sure who that is. Is that Fittipaldi? Yes, that is Fittipaldi, I believe. It is indeed. So Fittipaldi now is going to be using Senna as a bit of help here, as Fisichella pits. So Fisichella's in. And that might get him lapped by Senna here. Senna has been flying for Ferrari. He had a bit of an off day in Brazil, but today he's definitely on it. As that's Morbidelli running a bit wide there. So Morbidelli running the car just a little bit wide. And there's yellow flags. What's the yellow flags for? Oh! Oh, wait! Who is that? That's a... Oh! It's, Mansell! Mansell's out with an engine problem. So that's a Ferrari out of the race anyway. But the stewards are definitely going to have a look at his incidents today. But Ferrari have had their first engine failure of the race. Will there be another one? I think hopefully not, for the sake of the team boss of Elliot Vega. He'll be hoping that Ferrari don't, or his team's engine doesn't go out while Senna is leading. But at the end of this race, definitely be a steward's inquiry on Mansell's incident there, as he has taken out one of the championship challengers. So, is that Sonny Hayes slowing? No. No. That's Sonny Hayes slowing down. He's got a suspension failure. That is Sonny Hayes out of the race. Look at that. Oh no. Tyrrell again. They cannot afford. They're already struggling for cash. A result like they were on for today would have helped them so much, but again, both their cars out of the race. And you can only hope things get better in Imola. But that is awful. That is awful. Jay Kirkham is going to be rightfully upset with that. That's a double retirement twice in a row for his team. He might start asking questions, and I don't blame him, because that's as unlucky as one can get. As we now have a look at JJ Leto, but now see Jean Alesi running in third. This will be a good result for McLaren if they can get it. But awful, 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 awful for Tyrrell. I will hope for Imola that I mean, they have the car, so... And they've got all season to get themselves out the negatives, but... I don't think they could afford much more than what they've already had happen to them, rather unfortunately. And... might hopefully bring some upgrades in. Well, they can't bring any upgrades in because they haven't got any money. So they're just going to have to hope that the cars will make it to the end next time. Or before Monaco, shall I say. They have the car though. So, yeah, we will see what Tyrrell can do in round 3 and 4. But that is heartbreak for the Tyrrell squad. Now, have a look at Senna, who still has the Pacific behind him, so it's quite interesting that a Pacific can hold on to the back of Senna. But so now have a look at Eddie Irvine. I think now we're in that phase in the race where everything will die down for a little bit. Everything will slow down as everyone is sort of finding their footing and figuring out what's good. But as we now have a look at Senna leading the race. But let's talk team, shall we? While we're in this sort of downtime in the race, shall I say, as there isn't all too much going on. Let's have a look at just Verstappen it while we have a chat. So, at the moment, the team with the most money is Ferrari. Now, they didn't make anything in Brazil. They made naught as they retired, but still had the sponsorship money. So, didn't make anything, but they do still have £2,200,000 to play with. So, they will do with that what they please. And then, second after that is in fact McLaren. As Patrick Pardy's out. Patrick Pardy is out. So, that's another Peugeot. Peugeot are not enjoying this track, clearly, the Peugeot engines, as Patrick Pardy is out. So, Minardi were looking at a good result there, but now that is all gone. So, rather unfortunately, right as I started getting into the old boring chat about money, it's Barrichello's. Oi! Barrichello nearly ran around there on the grass. But right as I got into the boring chat, stuff started happening. I should start doing that a little bit more often. But no, very unfortunate there for the Minardi. Ryan Hawke is going to be so distraught with that. Pardy was very much on for a good result there, but the engine just said no. As JJ Leto there locking up. As Christian Fittipaldi now being overtaken by, I believe that's Fisher Keller, the sole remaining Minardi in this race. But you're now right on board with Eddie Irvine. So, Marini. For Ligier. Getting on with it, as you need to in a midfield team. Hopefully, other cars ahead of him, for his sake, retire. As Schumacher, though, is doing a cracking job for Lotus, as he did last round, getting a podium. So hopefully he can maybe continue his run of points. Now, the cameras now point to Schumacher. Not Schumacher, what am I talking about? Senna, who is... It's panicked they're trying to get past JJ Leto. So... Morbidelli trying to get past. But no. Can't get that one done. So... Damon Hill, though, now in 6th place. So Williams are on a bit of a comeback here. After Hill made that very early mistake. But... it's what they need. So, let's get back to the boring chat. And we will go from there. So, as we now see Dietz in 8th. So, the second team with the most money at the moment is McLaren. Now, they did earn money in the last race, despite not scoring any points. And that's because one of their drivers did finish and the other didn't. So, they did still make money, but they will probably want to come home with points today. And they're doing very well in third and fourth, shall I say. So, Alesi and Herta, I think, and I'm sure Ruben would be ever so grateful with points. So, Eddie Irvine. Now, second place. Doing his thing. And there we go. I'll just put the cameras back so the game controls them. So, yeah. So, McLaren have Alesi and Herta. Second team with the most money. Not in the championship, however. They are quite far down in the championship. Well, not massively far down, actually. That is a lie. At the moment, they are in 6th. So, not too far down, but a lot further down than they probably would have wanted to be. So, speaking of championship as well, Hill is leading the championship. I think he will probably want to be still after today's race. You've got Herbert in 2nd. There's Morbidelli now. They're going to move down the inside on Lamy. But, so Michael Schumacher in 3rd in the championship. Jos Verstappen incredibly in 4th. Coulthard is in 5th. And Marini running quite wide there. And then Princeton is in 6th. And then after that it is just sort of a mishmash of drivers. As there's only been one race, so, and points are only scored for the top 6. So, but Barrichello was very close to scoring points in the last race. There was a big train from Coulthard to, I believe it was Salo, for 5th place. So, was a pretty hectic one. in Brazil. This one does seem a little bit calmer. At the moment, anyway. Obviously, earlier it definitely wasn't. There's the footwork trying to go past Leto. But not succeeding in doing so. So, like I say, this race is a lot less... I mean, there's been a lot more incidents, shall I say. More mistakes from drivers, which is understandable, as it is chucking it down with rain. But there have been more spins and more incidents. So, maybe that will play into the hands of some drivers. Maybe it won't. But at the moment, those who have just about stayed out of trouble are doing a very good job. So, we have Twana Lacey here in P3. Now, what I think is going on in the heads of the team managers of Benetton, or the likes of Benetton, McLaren, maybe even Lotus, is Senna's car, while being very powerful, they have a very powerful engine in the back of that car, but the reliability in the Ferrari is known for being not ideal, shall I say. So that's Ricard Rydell, I believe, overtaking Leto. Not Leto, Larini. So Rydell through on Larini for 13th place. So he's up a position there. So, Rydell, after spinning, I believe, twice, as far as I remember, is now in 13th. So, as opposed to his teammate, as we now have a look on board with, is running in P2. So, yeah, those teams behind Senna will be hoping, hey, running a bit wide there, Morbidelli. But, yeah, like I say, there's one Ferrari gone, and the reliability on those Ferraris is not known for being the greatest, so we will see what happens. We will see what happens. Senna is getting stuck in traffic here, as he's now going to make his way past Lamy. Or is he? Yeah, he is. Senna nearly overshot turn one there, but I'll tell you what, Senna is having an absolute stonking race at the moment. 15 seconds ahead of Irvine, 35 seconds ahead of a Lacey. At this rate, he might just about be lapping everyone. Bar maybe the points finishers. So, Lamy now is now going to get overtaken by Fisichella. No, yes, no. Oh, hey, that's close. Fisichella stays behind Lamy. That's what's going on here. That's Michael Schumacher getting passed by Hill. Schumacher has been passed by Damon Hill. Damon Hill on the charge. He's now chasing down Herter for P4. So, Damon Hill now running P5 after the nightmare start that he had. He's going to want to be making amends. And at the moment, that he is. So, Giancarlo Fisichella now looking down the inside of Pedro Lamy. Is he going to get it done? He is indeed. He's through. He's through. So, Eddie Irvine. Loving life in P2 at the moment in this rain. He has proven that he does in fact know what he's doing in this wet weather. So there's Sean Lacey running a healthy P3. It's Brian Herter now. It's getting overtaken by Hill. Hill's on an absolute charge. So, Damon Hill now running in P4. So, will a Lacey's podium be under threat? That's the question. As Hill is looking quick. He's recovered well from that spin. As we now have a look at Ayrton Senna in the Ferrari, who has just not put a foot wrong so far in this race. He's been followed by Fisichella in the Minardi. And we're going to cut back to a Lacey. So, at the moment, as the order stands, it's Senna in P1. Irvine in P2, 15 seconds behind, so I think he has got a little bit closer. And it's a Lacey in P3, as we see. Hill P4, Herter in P5, Schumacher P6, Barrichello in P7, Deekt in P8 for Jordan, which is mind-blowing. Panis in 9th, Salo 10th, Lato 11th, and Verstappen 12th. That's your top 12. I won't go any further than that. As that's Panis now going down the inside of Deekt in the Jordan. So, there we go. So now have a look at Jos Verstappen for Pacific. Now Pacific, so he is right behind Lato. Now, JJ Lato pits. So JJ Lato's in along with Deekt. So JJ Lato and Deekt are in the pit lane. And Michael Schumacher's off! Michael Schumacher's round! That's a mistake! That's a big mistake from Michael Schumacher. Let's have a look here. Let's go on his onboard. Is he just running? He runs it wide and he's round. He's round. Round he goes. And that is a rare mistake from Michael. So, luckily, I don't think he's lost too much time there. As Senna pits. So Senna pits from the lead of the race. So, Eddie Irvine is our new leader. Wherever he may be. Where is he? There he is. Eddie Irvine leads the Pacific Grand Prix. And Ferrari have actually timed that pit stop to perfection. And Senna comes out in a lot of clean air. So he can push, push, push. And chase after Eddie, depending on where Eddie or when, sorry, shall I say, Eddie boxes. So Eddie Irvine gets straight past there for Ligier. That is, wow, that was an absolute beefcake of an engine in the back of that to just power past the Ligier. He's not messing about there. But as we now look at Senna, going to ride on board with the Brazilian. Mika Salo boxes. The Simtek is in. And that's Verstappen up into 9th. So Verstappen doing what he did in Brazil and just being very silent and moving his way up the grid. So Pacific do like a crazy strategy. Seems like yet again, whatever strategy they're doing, it is working. It is definitely working. So, as we now move on to lap 49 of 83, Irvine leads, followed by Senna. And just ahead of Senna there, that is a car coming out of the pit lane. Just going to have a look at Sean Lacey, who is himself coming on to lap 49. 20 seconds behind the leader, or 21 seconds behind the leader if we're running it up. But go. So have a look at Olivier Panis now, running in 8th. So we haven't really talked about footwork very much this race, and I think for good reason, and for good reason. They've just been silent. Not much has been going on with the footwork squad. Mostly running Peugeot engines. There's yellow flags. Herta's round. Herta's made a mistake. Herta. Here we go. As he exits turn 1. What's he done? He's running wide and he's round. No. That's Herta round. He's going to quickly get it spun. Hopefully he can get back on the track. And there we go. That's Herta back on track there. But wow, that was a bit scary there for McLaren. As Herta, so far this season, so he's been seemed a bit mistake prone. As in Brazil, he did make a couple silly mistakes, but hopefully, we've got to bear in mind this is his rookie season in Formula 1. So it is to be expected, but obviously I don't think McLaren will take many mistakes like that for much longer. Like Senna getting stuck behind a bit of traffic here. This will help Irvine, maybe not by much, but it will help Irvine just a little bit. Speaking of Eddie Irvine, here he is. As there we go, Senna is trying not to waste any time getting stuck behind Larini. As he, oh dear, had a bit of a hash of that, but he's through. Well, will Larini have something to say about it? No. This is the thing, Larini is a lapped car, so he should really be moving out of the way. But as Damon Hill and Schumacher boxes there, I believe that's their second stop. So Schumacher's in. Damon is in. So now gone board with Jos Verstappen, who is up behind, who is that? Irvine. So he's just following Irvine, following what he's doing. And these lap cars do like it, seemingly, when they get overtaken by the big boys, because bigger teams are able to give them a little bit of help. It's Fittipaldi pits, so that's one of the Pacifics in. But Senna pushing that Ferrari to within an inch of what it's capable of. Done a very good job of it. So now look at Eddie Irvine, still with the Pacific right behind him. But we've still got 32 laps left, so anything can happen and will happen. It's not over yet. But Senna is closing down rapidly on Irvine. So Irvine and Benetton have to make a very quick strategy decision. As we now look at Jean Lacey, who is running now third, as Jos Verstappen. Let's go on board with Jos Verstappen, who is still following Eddie Irvine, the leader. But this does just show Verstappen has just boxed and he is on better rubber than Verstappen up ahead. Not Verstappen up ahead, what am I talking about? Irvine up ahead. So Irvine just shows that Irvine's tyres are starting to die a little bit. It's Fisichella boxes there for Minardi. Jean Lacey in third, Fittipaldi. So we now have a look. Running P19 for Pacific. So, not too bad of a job there for that squad. So we now look at Eddie Irvine. You can just see the red car and yellow helmet of Senna in the background there as he is chasing this pack of cars down. One car is the only one he needs to catch, and that's what happened there with the Lacey. Back end seemingly kicked out. I think his tyres are starting to die quite a bit. So he is yet to box as well, so I think he is anyway. Why has he come in? Not entirely sure, but it's a bit of a mistake there from a Lacey. So won't want that happening again. The drivers might be getting a bit tired now, as driving in the wet for this long in cars is powerful. We'll take the life out of you. So, as Rydell pits now. So Rydell into the pits for his second stop for Benetton. How long will this be? Will he get out in the top 12? I think Benetton would like him to come out in the top 12, but I don't think that's going to be happening. Definitely will not be happening. Or will it? No, but he is on fresh rubber, and I'm pretty sure that will be his last stop. So, hopefully, Rydell can make up for his early mistakes. As there's Rydell coming out ahead of Senna. Ooh, here we go. So Senna, Rise is caught up to the pack of Irvine. Rydell is here, cause a bit of trouble for Senna, as his teammate is, oh hi! Gonna hold Senna up. What's going on here? Oh dear. There we go. That was not exactly the so-called holding up I think Rydell had in mind, but definitely did slow Senna's charge to Irvine quite a bit. So, bit of team play there to make Senna's life just a little bit harder. As Benetton definitely want this win over Ferrari, but I think Senna at this rate, with the pace he's had, he's definitely deserved it more. We will see, as Olivier Panis is now in the pits for footwork from 7th place. So Panis boxes. So now looking at Senna. There's the leader. There's the man he needs to catch, Eddie Irvine. But this is the question. What is the strategy call for Benetton? Are they going to keep Irvine out, let him battle with Senna, and then box him late and then have him go on a charge? What is the plan for Benetton? We don't know. But there we go. Senna lost a lot of time that lap there. He's now 2.9 seconds behind rather than 1.4. Now go on board with the helmet of the Lacey is Rubens Barrichello running in 6th. So, team owner of Sauber, the Draguntan, is going to be very happy to see Rubens in 6th place. See, Rubens got very close to points in Brazil, but couldn't snatch it off of the Lotus cars. That's Morbidelli's round. That's a spin. That's a spin for Morbidelli. Morbidelli has gone round. Let's have a look at the replay. So, Morbidelli. Let's have a look. And, oh, he's drifting. What a drift. Well, look at that. And he goes round. Morbidelli, I think you're in the wrong sport, my friend. It's lots of close shaves there, but he spins the car around. I think that's his teammate. Oh no, that's McLaren. That might be a Lacey, actually. It is. So he pulls out just in front of Alesi. But there we go. As is that Senna and Rydell having a bit of a ding-dong again? I think it is. Rydell is just here to make Senna's life harder. Is Rydell going to put up a fight even though he's lapped? Now Rydell is on the fresher rubber compared to Senna. Will that make much of a difference? We don't know. Is this car going very slow there? That's the Simtech trying to enter the pit lane. But now that has really closed up the gap. What is going to happen here? There's a Pacific between the leaders as they now round out the final corner. Eddie Irvine leads, but for how long? Senna's going to look down the inside of the Pacific. He gets that job done. And now it's Senna versus Irvine for the lead of the race. Irvine is on very old tyres, so this might be an easy job for Senna, as he is now just following behind Irvine. He's slowing! Senna's slowing! Oh no! There's smoke coming out the back of Senna's car. He's out! Senna is out of this race after leading for 55 laps. Ayrton Senna at the same corner Mansell retired is out. And Schumacher's out as well with a suspension failure. What is going on? So Schumacher's out and Senna is out of the Pacific Grand Prix. It's heartbreak. But so unfortunate as Senna, as he was right about to overtake Irvine, has an engine failure. So that's Senna out of the race for 2 races in a row. It's disaster for Ferrari. They need to sort this problem out if they want to get anywhere in this championship. Because Senna and Mansell will not want to stay for much longer if that continues. But Irvine is now in a breath of fresh air in the lead of the race. As Dietz now is in 6th for Jordan. Jordan Lamborghini. Wow, wow, wow. They've done well to survive, I have to say. As we now look at Alesi. But our new race leader, Eddie Irvine, has been overtaken by a teammate though, so Rydell feels like he's quicker. But Brian Herter pits there from 5th, but Eddie Irvine is in the lead of the Pacific Grand Prix for Benetton. Will he stay there? There's less than 30 laps to go. And this will be a historic win for Benetton if they can keep it. As Eddie Irvine does make his pit stop now. Probably his last pit stop. So Eddie Irvine is in. Is Jean Alesi going to follow him in as well? He isn't. So Alesi stays out, and Alesi will probably inherit the lead now. As Alesi comes around the final corner and does in fact take the lead off of Irvine as Irvine comes into the pit lane. But will Irvine come out? Yeah, Irvine will come out well ahead of Hill. So there we go. David Coulthard making life harder for Eddie as Eddie comes out right behind him. So Benetton haven't really planned that one very well, but he's now going to try and go down the inside. Oh, whoa, that's very... Whoa. Patience, Eddie. Patience. Nearly just took himself out there. That was very close. But Damon Hill now back up into P3. So it's been absolutely fantastic there from the Williams squad to help Damon through his early spin. And with a good strategy have now helped him up into P3. Barrichello as well now running in 4th. So that is absolutely fantastic for Sauber. Done a very good job. But such a shame to see Ferrari retire again, both cars. Panis now going down the inside of Pedro Lamy, and that's Rydell as well, I believe, going down the inside of Leto. So through he goes. Then there we go. So look at Damon Hill. Running P3, and John Lacey now boxes, and that puts Eddie Irvine back into the lead of this race. But he's going to want to try and get past Coulthard, because Coulthard will hold him up otherwise. But as long as he doesn't do the same thing, don't do it again, don't do it again, Eddie. Oh, he keeps doing the same thing. Just wait for the straight, my friend. You'll get him. That's Damon Hill as well now into P2, and that is Lacey coming out just behind him. So Lacey on fresh rubber. Will he catch Hill up and get him for second? Only time will tell. The McLaren Yamaha, or the McLaren team, shall I say, are both running in the points. So this will be very good. They're able get those points. And also, it's worth noting, Salo is running in 7th for Simtech. That is incredible. So Salo run a very silent race, but is in fact running in a very good position at the moment. There we go. Eddie Irvine is now finally ahead of Coulthard. As Eddie Irvine now rounding the final corner to start the 59th lap of the race. With this wet race as Lacey now. I think this is the rattle we want to be looking at. Lacey right up behind Damon now for second place. As they now head down into turn 1. So, Lacey now right up behind Damon. Is Damon going to put up much of a fight here? Let's have a look. Lacey's going to go down the inside. And he gets it done. That's Lacey down the inside. And through on Damon. So Lacey now into second place. Behind Eddie Irvine for Benetton. So now right on board with Nicola Larini. So Larini running 12th, his teammate in 10th. And there's Jos Verstappen in 11th. So, and what's going on here? Oh my goodness, is that engine failure? Is that an engine failure for Jordan? That looks like smoke coming out the back of his engine. It is. It is indeed. That's Jordan out of the race, running in 6th. He was looking so good, but the Lamborghini engine was not having any of it. And after being so close to points, Barclay pits as well. Rydell sends it down the inside of the smoking Jordan. And that is it. Verdict. That is it. And he is still going with that damaged engine, which Jordan are going to be yelling at him to come in or do something, because that's quite dangerous. He's basically smoke screening the other drivers, and there we go. He's off the track. And that is an engine problem for Jordan. We all saw that one coming. And unfortunately, Jordan will have to wait on some upgrades for the next race. As Olivier Panis now is going to look for the move on the Simtek. Crush Simtek's dreams of maybe getting points. There we go. Panis is into 6th. So now look at Rydell in 8th. So Rydell is also looking to crush some dreams here and make Benetton very happy. After an awful start to the race, it's fair to say, with loads of mistakes, he's making up for it now. With this weather, it's not easy to drive in, so it's kudos to any driver who's able to finish this one, because it's not been easy. It really hasn't. But it's been quite the crazy race so far. But with 22 laps to go, it can only get crazier. As Damon Hill, with an incredible comeback, Brian Herter has been running an incredible race. We're now riding on board with Eddie Irvine. I think it's fair to say we should go on board with him for a lap around this rain-soaked Grand Prix track. And just look at how slow the corners are having to be taken here, because see the track, it's very damp. It is very, very damp, and obviously drivers will need to take extra caution. So, but Eddie Irvine has driven a fantastic race. I mean, it would have been P2 had Senna stayed in, but you know, if you're not there to reap the rewards, then what are you there for? But Irvine has done a good job so far. So has Lacey for McLaren. Strategy call, played just right. So there's Damon Hill, Brian Herter, and there we have Rubens Barrichello for 5th place for Sauber. So Rubens doing exactly what Sauber would have wanted him to do, and that's Rydell as well, passed, on Salo. So Rydell is up into 7th place in the Benetton, hoping to get some points for the team, as he's now chasing Panis down for P6, the last points playing position. They're now making their way around the final sector. There's Damon Hill. Damon Hill for Williams. Doing an absolutely incredible job. So, speaking of incredible jobs, Eddie Irvine. Have we got to go and ride on board with Coulthard now, it seems. Who is right up behind. Who is that? Lamy, I believe that is. Or maybe Barrichello. No, that's definitely Lamy, I believe. It is Lamy. So, Pedro Lamy has got Coulthard right behind him in the Simtek. One Simtek in 8th, one all the way back in 16th. We're now going to ride on board with Rydell, who, I mean, he isn't struggling to close the gap, but he's definitely keeping Panis honest. But this weather is not easy. It is not easy whatsoever. And it's been a long old race for all parties involved. And tiredness will start kicking in. The engines, their tiredness will start kicking in. And all a bit of an effect here as Barrichello runs it a little bit wide there. Focus a bit, Barrichello. Come on, Mal. You're near the end. Bring it home for Sauber. They'll want you to, mate. There we go. He's rounding off the first sector. Barrichello there, very close to running it straight off the track. This has been a very good race, and obviously I think Lotus are going to be a little bit upset with their result, as they've got double points. As Eddie Irvine now, there we go, I think just lapping someone. Do you know, a bit of a lock up there from Herta. He's just trying to get himself home. After spinning earlier on. But Eddie Irvine leading the race there. So while there isn't all too much going on, I think we should talk about the race funds again and where everyone is. So a result like this would be great for Footwork, who are currently in the negatives. So if they can finish this race, they should be out of the negatives. I think the only team after this one who would be in the negatives would be Tyrrell, who are already in the negatives, shall I say. Negative, nearly at negative 400k on their remaining funds, and this will definitely not help. Won't help them at all. But if they can rely on two good races in both Imola and Monaco, who knows what can happen. We're now nearing the end of this race. As Eddie Irvine. So engine-wise, the best engines this race, it seems, like the Renault engines, have been pretty dandy, pretty handy in this one. So the Renault engines, obviously, pretty decent on power. They've got the same amount of power as Lamborghini engines to Renault, but the Renault reliability is quite good. Obviously, we didn't see that in the last race. Benetton, unfortunately, who retired both their cars, but in this one, having better luck, as Irvine is now on lap number 67. Here he is. So, and I believe the second best engine so far has been the Hart engine. Yet to see a retirement from that engine type. But should now have a look at Damon Hill in third. So yeah, I believe we're yet to see a retirement for the Hart engine. I'm just going to have a little check of that. So I am wrong. Pedro Lamy did retire last race, but I don't believe that was it engine related? Let's have a look. So it was transmission related. So it wasn't fully engine related, but it was still a failure regardless. So I think Sauber seemingly have worked on that before this race. Obviously, there was a big old break for today, and like I say, if you are still watching, I do apologise. Lots of other stuff going on, and just not really had the chance to host another race. But now we should be getting regular streams of the races, which I'm sure you guys will all be very happy about. There's Barrichello there, just trying to limp the car back home. Been in the wars here today, has Barrichello. Been punted around a bit by Patrick Pardy. So, the car might just be a little bit damaged from all that. But now riding on board with the back of Eddie Irvine. The spray coming off the back of those tyres as he slows down now to the hairpin. But I think Rydell is... Oh dear, what's going on here? Oh dear, there's a bit of argy-bargy going on there. Let's have a look. I'm going to go on board with Pedro Lamy for this one. I believe, is it desperation to maybe try and get past Morbidelli? Let's have a look. Oh, it's a similar to... Oh, yeah. A little bit naughty there from Lamy. A little bit naughty. I think words will be said in the steward's office after that one. We'll see what the FIA has to say about that one. So, there's Morbidelli. So we just saw him in the replays. And there's Eddie Irvine, our leader. See how it goes on to lap 69. It's 14 laps left. As we now have a look at JJ Leto, who has Verstappen right behind him. Now Verstappen, again, silently, just doing his own thing. And he's in P10 as a result. So, it might... Pacific will need a miracle today if they want to score points like they did in round 1, but like I always say, it is not over until it's over. But Rydell now, look at this. Rydell, this is the closest battle we've got on track, especially in the points, or for the last points position. And Rydell is very close to the back of Panis, and is looking like he is going to take this final point away from Footwork. Is Panis going to put up much of a fight here? Because now Footwork do need these points. They do need them. They need the extra money. They're in the negatives. Is Rydell getting upset here? No, he isn't. But there is a straight coming up. So the Renault engine will be put up against the Peugeot one here. Let's see what Rydell can do. As here we go. Down the inside he goes. At the hairpin. Is he going to get it done? He is indeed. So that's Rydell up into 6th place there. That's 1 point. Rydell, his first point of the season, if he can get this one, if he can get the car home. I think that would be great for Benetton, if he could, especially with all the spins he's had today. I think without them, he would probably be running in 5th. But, see, he is a rookie this season. So he usually drives touring cars. This is a bit different for him. So, all is forgiven for Rydell. So the Irvine now is just lapping some drivers. That is a Pacific of Jos Verstappen he's lapping. Now, Verstappen is fighting later for 9th here, so now right on board with Damon Hill, running P3. But now the gaps, just in general really, are beginning to just open up. So I think everyone is now just trying to get to the end. As Pedro Lamy pits. That's Pedro Lamy with his 3rd pit stop of the race. Now I do wonder, Eddie Irvine is planning to get to the end. John Lacey, I believe. Let's have a look. Just right on board inside of the cockpit. Driver's eye, ladies and gents. Yeah, so Lacey's going to try and get to the end as well. So I don't think we're going to be seeing any other pit stops for today's race. Has been a 2-stopper. No one's tried the 1-stopper. As JJ Leto is now being lapped by Irvine. As Irvine's trying to squeeze his way through. Is Verstappen going to capitalise on this? No, he isn't. He is not close enough. But that is fine. So now have a look at Damon Hill. Charging down into the hairpin now. There's now a Lacey's going to try one down the inside of Coulthard to try and lap him. And he does get that done. So a Lacey laps Coulthard. And these cars should really be moving out of the way. I think it's a little bit... blue flags have been waved and they're not really moving out of the way. They're making life actually quite hard for the front-running drivers. But Lacey is catching up Irvine just a little bit. Not massively. And probably not enough. But he is catching him just a little bit. But so many cars are lapped now. Irvine has really been quite dominant in this second half of the race. Has not put a foot wrong. And he's capitalised off the Ferrari engines being hideously unreliable. And Benetton will have all their thanks if he can get this one home. As a Lacey now, going past the footwork of Morbidelli, I believe that was. So a Lacey has got a lot of traffic at the moment, but now he's got some nice clear air. So hopefully won't be a problem. Now cut back to Eddie Irvine. As I don't believe there's any massively close battles with... As now Eddie Irvine comes on to lap 73. 10 more laps to go. We're nearly home. We're nearly there. It's been a long old one, ladies and gents. It has been a long, long race. As John Lacey. P2. So the gaps are really just opening up now, and Damon Hill with his amazing comeback, I don't think he's going to win today. He'll need a big miracle if he wants that to happen. So now have a look at Fittipaldi, 13th place, just trying to get the car home for the Pacific squad. His teammate Verstappen in 9th as well, doing a stellar job. The Pacific team, the ever so reliable. We now cut back to Eddie Irvine. Making his way around the final sector. He is... Oh, there's a big lock up there from Herta. So Herta really struggling, as I think now he is actually being sort of caught up by Barrichello here. So let's have a look at the previous lap. Yeah, Barrichello is setting lap times faster than Herta. 5 cents quicker in the last lap. So Herta is now being chased down by Barrichello. So we could be seeing a little bit of a battle for P4 just at the end here. So long as Herta can hold on with his McLaren Yamaha. The only team on the grid, I believe, to have picked Yamaha. Which I think is really interesting, because I actually do think Yamaha while being expensive, is a pretty decent all-rounded engine. Just the power just isn't there, unfortunately, but I think on a track like this, you don't really need it. So I think that's why McLaren are definitely thriving from needing said lack of power and just solely relying on driver skill. As there's a big battle there between Fischer-Keller and... I thought I saw that right, between Fischer-Keller and Leto. Fischer-Keller is now in 10th. So, it's not too bad there for Giancarlo. It's ahead of Leto. Now, Ligier were running in the podium last race before a few laps to the end. They had a big blowout right as he got into P3, I believe. I'm not sure if it was Leto or Larini. It was one of the two, but they are running 11th and 12th at the moment. Not where Ligier would want to be. They want to be a bit higher than that, but you know, with those, I believe they are running Peugeot engines. So, no, they're not. Are they? No, they're running Fords. Ligier. So it's understandable why they're a little bit far off, but you know, look at John Lacey. So we're now on lap 75 out of 83, was ever so close to the end. It's been a very good race. As John Lacey now makes his way around, finish the first sector. To Ricardo Rydell there, running a little bit in the grass, pushing that car to within an inch to get it to the end, to bring Benetton home not only a win but a double points finish. I think team owner Benetton will love that very much. As Damon Hill now. Mika Salo! Mika Salo retires from the Pacific Grand Prix. Simtek are out. On fire they are. So the Mugen Honda has set on fire. An oil leak for the Simtek team running Honda engines. They are out of the Pacific Grand Prix. So close to the end of scoring such a good result. And they are out. That promotes Verstappen into P8, Fischer-Keller into 9th, Leto into 10th. But that is heartbreak for Simtek, who were looking pretty good, pretty in 8th. But now, they will go no further. And the sole remaining Simtek is Coulthard, who I believe is just outside the top 12. So, heartbreak. Simtek. But there we go, there's David Coulthard. He is battling, I believe, Mas Morbidelli for 13th, so Coulthard fighting there for 13th place, has gone board with John Lacey. But I tell you what, the battle between Herta and Barrichello is getting closer and closer. So Barrichello is on the charge for that P4. Will Herta put up much of a fight? That is the question. Last lap, Barrichello was a whole second quicker than Herta. So these last few phases of the race, Barrichello has really put the power down. And is really not hanging about here. So there we go. I think we're going to go on board. We're about to go on board with Barrichello. We are indeed in the wake of Herta. As Barrichello's drove a fantastic race. Is it about to get even better for the Brazilian? And Di Draguntan, the owner of Sauber, well, I'll say the owner, the manager of Sauber, his life about to get ever so much cooler for the Sauber squad. It's their second season in Formula 1. Their first season under new management, Diedra Guntan. He's getting close here. He's very quick around that corner, is Rubens. Is he going to maybe send one of them to here? Surely not. No, he isn't. He's going to sit behind Herta. Now, the power on the back on the Sauber isn't exactly as powerful as the McLaren. So the McLaren, as you can see there, powering off. I don't think the Sauber's close enough for slipstream, but Barrichello's sheer driving prowess catches him up in the corners. So we will see what happens here with 5 laps to go. So 5 laps to go, and Irvine is still leading, followed by Lacey, Damon Hill third. And here is the battle for fourth. With a few laps left to go, Barrichello behind Herta. Will Herta hold on for a memorable finish for McLaren? I think McLaren will be leaving this race if they finish like this as the highest team scorers. If Herta loses fourth, Benetton will become the highest team scorers. Let's see what they can do here. Will Herta put up a fight? As Barrichello is looking close, but he's not going to do it. That heart isn't powerful enough to be making any moves. Not just yet, anyway. See, he catches up in the corners. Is he going to try one here? Is he going to try and make a send? No, he isn't. He's going to sit behind. But look how close he is. He's hugging the back of that McLaren. It looks like he's going to do it here, though. He's actually really close. He got good traction out of that corner. Is Herta going to put up much of a fight? I don't think he is. As they head down into the chicane, into the hairpin, sorry. And yes, there we go. Barrichello is through into 4th place for Sauber. That is an incredible position. That demotes Herta into 5th in the closing stages of this race. I'm sure McLaren will still be happy with points if Herta can bring it home, but Giancarlo Fisichella pits from 12th. Might have been damage or something, because that's very late to be pitting. Morbidelli goes up into 12th. But that is Barrichello now up into 4th position. We're now right on board then with Eddie Irvine. Never mind. We're on to Damon now. So now have a look at Coulthard. Still behind Morbidelli. Struggling to make a move. But there we go. So now look at Panis, who has got Irvine behind him. Panis running 7th. And Irvine is about to lap the last non-points finisher. Is he going to lap his teammate though? That's the question. It certainly seems like it at the moment. Will Irvine catch his teammate and lap him? Irvine has just looked so quick. He's definitely been the second fastest car compared to Senna this race. And Ferrari will want to sort that reliability out come Imola, the home Grand Prix. They're definitely going to want to sort that out. But they're now very close to the end. Riding on board with Eddie Irvine, who's driven such an incredible race. To come back after DNFing after round 1 through no fault of his own. Getting that engine failure. It now will be the Renaissance Day for not only the Benetton team but Eddie Irvine. Was unlucky enough to have that happen to him. That's Morbidelli. That's silence, and I assume that is an engine failure, and it is indeed. And oh dear, all the footwork's making a few mistakes. Panis goes off a little bit there, but we need to cut back. Where is he? Morbidelli, there he is. That's engine So that's the Peugeot engine again that has disintegrated on the team. So Morbidelli out there with an engine problem. So it's very unfortunate. I'm not exactly sure where they're taking that car though. That's very interesting. But anyway, if you're now right on board with Jos Verstappen running 8th position. And he's off! But Verstappen's round! Verstappen is round! So Verstappen is going to drop loads of, there we go, 10th. He's going to lose out to his teammate now as well. That's Verstappen with a mistake. He's running 8th position. He's going to try and get the car turned around. As Coulthard now goes by. Just a few laps from the end and he makes a crucial mistake running 8th position. He lets all those cars by. He's now down in 14th position. Oh no. That's just not... That's really not what the team owner of Pacific will want to see. Anthony Smith, who's backed Verstappen, he backed him so hard after Brazil, getting that 4th place. And now he's in 14th position. Very, very unfortunate there. But unfortunately that's racing. And I thought that was Barrichello on the back of Hill there, but it isn't. That's Lamy on the back of Damon. So, Eddie Irvine, not only is he close to the back of his teammate, but he is close to a win. As Spray the back of his teammate ahead. So, Eddie Irvine is going to take a memorable win. As he's going to come round then to start the final lap of the Pacific Grand Prix. It has been just so incredible, I think, for Benetton to come back from where they were. And now they're in a position to be winning a race. And there's yellow flags. What's going on here? Oh! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! 1 lap from... What's happened here? 1 lap from the end. Lamy has just smashed into Hill. Oh my goodness. A lap car has just taken out Damon Hill. And Damon Hill has lost his front right. That's going to give Barrichello 3rd place. That's going to be a big penalty for Lamy. He has just taken out. Damon Hill is out of the Pacific Grand Prix. Williams, after getting a 1-2 in Brazil, have been so unlucky. That is so unlucky. And that is going to be a massive penalty for Lamy, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't even think that needs investigating. The stewards' result will come out after the race, but that is shocking. That is shocking. That should not be happening. And that takes Hill out of the point. Hill might get 6th place. He might. He doesn't. Panis is in 6th. So, that's it. Hill is out of the points. And out of the race. Both Williams is stupidly unlucky this race. They'll want to bounce back after that. But I don't think there's going to be any upset faces in the Benetton squad today. As Eddie Irvine is now going to round these final few corners. And as he rounds his final few corners, he's going to have his whole pit wall cheering for him. Eddie Irvine wins the Pacific Grand Prix. Through he goes. Eddie Irvine wins. Incredible race there. Jean Alesi, P2 for McLaren. Absolutely incredible stuff there. So, Jean Alesi takes second place. JJ Leto there in 7th, being lapped. Luca Larini 8th. Christian Fittipaldi 9th for Pacific. David Coulthard coming around the final corner. Gets a solid 10th. Pedro Lamy, he'll have words. He'll have to argue his position after what had just happened there. Fisichella in 12th. Barrichello now. What a race it has been for Sauber. P3 for Barrichello. Granted, it was handed to him, but he was there to reap the rewards. Barrichello P3. Jos Verstappen P13 after spinning. And Brian Herzer, look at him go. P4. Lovely stuff there. And here comes Rydell, the last finisher. Obviously, I forgot Panis as well, P6. Can't forget about him. He crossed the line, I believe, just behind Irvine. But here it goes. Rydell, P5 for Benetton. Absolutely fantastic stuff as he rounds the final corner. And there we go. Ricard Rydell, P5 for Benetton. He didn't get lapped. And he can finish the race. And that is that.